Hi there, my name is Allison Neubauer, and I am presenting today on behalf of myself and my colleague, Kristen Tepas from Illinois Indiana Sea Grant on our Students Ask Scientists video call program, where we connect youth learners with Great Lakes scientists. And we have one of those scientists here today. Susan Daniel from the Great Lakes Center at SUNY Buffalo State is here to also share a little bit about her experience with the program. So the Student Ask Scientist program, or SAS as we'll call it for short, is meant to connect classrooms grades 5 through 12 across the Great Lakes region with scientists from a range of different academic institutions and agencies. And then Sea Grant educators, so myself and Kristen and our colleagues at the Center for Great Lakes Literacy work to facilitate these calls and help run the logistical and sharing the information back and forth between the teachers and the scientists and make sure everything runs smoothly. The calls happen on any video conferencing program that the school happens to use. That's most often Zoom, Google Meets, or Teams. And then, of course, the reason that we're doing this, it's really important to be able to have students see what real science is like. So that's that beyond the textbook sort of experience, and connecting the concepts that they're learning in the classroom to the field and to the environment and the broader picture of why it's important to be studying the things that they're studying. They also get to talk to the scientists about what inspired them to become a researcher, their academic and professional career paths. So the SAS program historically was really geared towards teachers who had been out on the RV Lake Guardian for the teacher workshop that you've heard about earlier. And it was a way to be able to give their students sort of that experience, seeing the ship through a video call. And you can see here, there's an iPad that Sea Grant purchased and put out on the vessel. It would have folks give a tour, show off the lab spaces, the sampling equipment, talk to the scientists on board, the crew on board about what their job is, a day in the life, working on a research vessel, the issues that they're studying, samples that they're taking, why it's important, that sort of thing. Over this time, we've also been doing lab and office calls, and especially over the last year because of COVID and the ship not going out, that gave us an opportunity to really expand the program and work on streamlining some of the processes that we have. And so those lab and office calls is kind of why we're here. We're hoping to further expand the network. So we're not just limited to the scientists on the ship, but broaden the pool of scientists that we're working with. In either a Q&A session or having a presentation from the scientists and then a discussion afterwards. And you can see on the right some stats. The program's been going since 2013, and through the scientists and teachers who have participated, we've been able to reach over 3,400 students. Sea Grant's role is to make good matches between the educators who want to participate and the scientists who have signed up. And so we've created Google Forms, and we collect sort of basic information from both the educators and the scientists. You can see just some examples here. Essentially, we want to know where the teachers are, what grade levels and subjects they're teaching, any particular classroom concepts that they would like to try to address on the call, as well as student demographics or special accommodations. From the scientists, we're again getting what grade levels and ages you're comfortable speaking with, what topics you're comfortable discussing. Importantly, we ask how many calls you're willing to do. So if you're worried about the time commitment, it's totally scalable to whatever you're able to commit to. And at any point, if we reach out and ask if you're available, it's totally fine to say that now is not a good time. And we will respect your time, and we just appreciate participation and want everyone to be happy. We also ask for a bio and a photo, which we share ahead of time with the classrooms, and I'll mention that in a minute, as well as we have an optional race and ethnicity question. And as I mentioned, we're expanding the program. We're reaching broader audiences with our students, and as well as we want to try to expand our scientist network, have a more diverse pool so that we can better match scientists with students so that they can kind of relate to the experiences that they go through and be able to see themselves in that position. So over the years of running this program, one of the important things we've learned is that preparation is key. So it's instead of just kind of showing up cold for a call, there's a lot of steps to do before you get there. One of those things is, if you're not familiar with the video conferencing program, Sea Grant is very happy to help test your video call setup so everything runs smoothly. We also send information to teachers ahead of time to share with their students. And that includes those bios that I mentioned. So you can see some snapshots of some lovely participants on the right. And that's really great because I think it's intimidating sometimes for students to come into a call with a scientist. And so kind of being able to see your background, a photo of you, it feels a little less intimidating, and they may even come with questions based on the things that they've read in your bio, as well as you can see. We encourage you to share any websites, or if you have a Twitter handle, that sort of thing, to help with the preloading of information. And we also send classroom information to the scientists, so you know what grade level, what learning concepts, and if you want to use that to try to tailor your presentation, Sea Grant is also very happy to workshop with you. And if you need help going through your PowerPoint and making sure it's meeting the right age level, or even just your slides, we can work with you on that. Some of the best practices that we've gleaned over the years for scientist presenters. First and foremost, keep it simple. You're obviously very engrossed in the topic and the work that you're doing, but you have to remember this is a much younger audience than you're probably used to speaking to. So the slides, if you have graphs, and even just sort of the number of things that you're talking about, sort of pick 2 to 3 main concepts and really just sort of tell those stories and make sure that you're doing a good job explaining it. Another important thing is to connect your topic to student locations wherever possible. So if you, are able to look at the students, where they're from, and pick a site perhaps that you've worked in or that you're aware of, and be able to talk about it, I think that just makes it more real for students. And if it's something local, it just makes them care more, and that's a really great way to connect. We also encourage varying the delivery mode. So rather than just going through your slides as we do in the professional world, it's really great if you are able to, with your camera, do a little show and tell. We also encourage stopping frequently to ask questions. That's both good to check comprehension of the students, but also to make it more of a discussion, more of a dialogue, rather than just a lecture where they're sitting back and listening. It's also great if you can address the so what and really explain not just what you're doing, but why it's important and why the student should care, why they might want to tell their friends and their family about it. And then ultimately, I think this is really a neat opportunity. The students, don't get to talk with a real scientist, and most scientists don't get to talk with students on a, at these level of students on a regular basis. So I think it's a fun opportunity, tell stories, share your personality, and just have fun. And next we will hear from one of our scientists, Susan Daniel, to share a little bit about what her experience has been like in the program.
So I wanted to share that when I started out as a freshman and during my undergraduate studies, I didn't know I could actually be a scientist. I thought that this was an unattainable profession. The great thing about this program is that I can let these students know that you don't have to be extraordinary to do what you love. I wasn't an A+ student. I was a solid AB student. If you get a B or you get a C, it's not the end of the world, because perfection is not a prerequisite, but passion and a quizzical mind is. Sea Grant was super helpful in helping my presentation really become perfect. So if you're worried about, sharing too much content or too little, they helped all along the way. And it's super rewarding, especially when, you can clearly hear the excitement in the background and kids are just dying to ask a question or are going to go home and tell their parents about it. You can hear that excitement, and something that I think a lot of people experience in their careers is burnout, where you lose that like fire in your belly to do what you love and to keep pushing forward. These sort of outreach programs ignite that fire in your belly to continue doing the work that you're doing and doing it well.
So ultimately, we have been running this program for several years. We've been getting feedback from scientists and from teachers who participated. Of course, we love to have good feedback. It's really nice to hear. And you see some of these quotes that we've pulled from some recent video calls about how the call really addressed the topics that they were studying in class and was really engaging for the students, having them think critically about the issue, seeing how real scientists work in the laboratory, and being able to give them a glimpse of what a day in the life of a scientist is like. And that's really the goal. That's what we love. But, we really appreciate having critical feedback as well, because that's how we've been able to sort of get these best practices and continue to grow and improve the program. And so with that, I leave in the yellow box here is an encouragement to sign up today. And there's the link, go.illinois.edu/SAS scientist. And that goes directly to the Google form to sign up as a scientist. So if you're interested, would love it to have you sign up, as well as to share with your colleagues who you think might be interested in the program. We have contact information on the left, as well as on the bottom here, we have the full page where you can learn more about the program. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.